Unsure about the future? You can rely on Fragments of Silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon. Joining me, as always, is the regular crew, and I'm your host, Adam. Let's get to the news. Um, Twilight, why don't you start us off this week?
Okay. Well, it's just been once again not much really going on here. Just every day's like, well, almost every day's like switching from warm to cold, and it's been plenty of rain lately. And well, it seems that um the prediction was true that and that the local schools have gone back to virtual learning. Uh, as ex- as I've expressed my concern like the beginning of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, there's been with no surprise since this is the beginning of the second wave, skyrocketing cases of COVID here. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's a thing right now. But things are going all right at work. So far, so good, and just been continuing to play the Fire Emblem, Three Houses, and game for this Sunday, and that's about it.
All right, Teddy?
Not a lot to report over here. It's also been getting cold now. We had to pull out the heaters. And yeah, just been kind of playing games like Genshin Impact and Final Fantasy 14 still. Really, really slow week.
Okay,
I guess the calm before the storm.
maybe. Like, but that's another show, isn't
Yeah. Next.
Mm-hmm.
it? Oh, Alex?
Well, my parents went away this past Friday, but they got back today, so had to hold down the fort and make sure that stuff got done that needs to get done, but that went pretty smoothly. Otherwise, work has been going pretty okay, but we're getting near the end of the year and people are wanting to use their vacation time, including me, so there's a bit more of juggling duties than there had been, or than is particularly optimal, but it's working okay for now, I guess. Um, for video game wise, the this weekend they're doing the rerun of the Halloween Splatfest and Splatoon 2, so that'll be fun. And also, I am running through the Crown Tundra content in Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is also being fun. The new adventure raid things are a good way to uh, do co-op play. I'm not super thrilled about the fact that all the legendaries are going to be super available again, and then a lot of ranked battles and stuff are probably going to go super power in that direction. But you know, you take what you can get. That's about all, I think.
All right, guess it's my go. Now, my week has been plentiful, to say the least. As mentioned last week, I had some extended family down here since they had a funeral to attend and all that. Week out didn't exactly plan out as planned. Like, like the big get together was canceled because well, small children can get sick. Like,
Shocker.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, yeah. It's like my brother has small children, so he ended up not coming because one of them threw up in his car. That's how that goes. Like, as far, um, and we ended up not doing as much stuff anyway because let's just say there were disputes in temperature. Like, you try to warn people that it's Florida. It's still hot. It's still humid down here. They don't believe you until they experience it.
Yeah,
Like,
thankfully it's starting to actually feel like fall up here, although we may get actual snow sometime
Yeah.
soon.
We already
in my
had it.
opinion.
yeah, still dealing with the same weather we've been dealing for since spring, but the usual weather patterns is about mid-November when things actually start finally tapering off. But like I said, there were a lot of complaints about it's too hot in here and all that. I'm like, look, it's
We
just
told you to bring shorts.
yeah. Look, I don't care how cold South Carolina is.
We're not in
Like,
South Carolina anymore, motherfucker.
Exactly.
yeah, that's how that goes. But I'm like, you know, this is just how things go with family gatherings, I guess. They're still open to coming back next Thanksgiving. Hopefully, Thanksgiving it'll be cooler. Not this Thanksgiving, next year because of COVID.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But thankfully, thankfully nobody seemed to get sick because it turns out apparently the funeral didn't have COVID protections.
Oh, fun.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm like, I was like, thankfully that didn't come near me after that. You know, so yeah, like hopefully everything worked out. If I hear about a sickness in the family, I'll know.
Yeah.
Like,
Give it 2 weeks.
yes, like because I bet you they're not going to check. I warned them that Florida's an uncontrolled outbreak. I'm like, you try to warn you try to warn people, but they don't listen to you. Anyway, um, also today I've spent a significant chunk of time setting up my new phone, like, which is a Motorola Moto G Power 64 gig.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to get a Galaxy because I didn't feel like paying $1,000 for a phone.
Yeah, that's
granted,
fair.
Mm-hmm.
They have installment plans, but even the installment plan was like $65 a month.
Yeah.
Versus this, which was $10, and about and the phone itself was like 180. Like that, it's like I found this much more palatable.
Yeah.
It's just setting up new technology. Not just me, but I had to go over to Mother's because we're on the same line, family packaging and all that stuff. So it was very frustrating because it's not just I have to deal with not a sales rep, but an IT tech who starts accusing you of lying. Like, motherfucker, somebody was about to get punched if they were in the same space because it's like Mother screwed up and handed me her phone by accident. I started setting up stuff there, and then it's like, it's because it's also when they first sent the phone, they sent them with new phone numbers. That's why we called them.
Oh.
To make sure that the old phone numbers went to the new phone number. Because I did not feel like, having to call a bunch of places and switch phone numbers.
Understandable.
Not to mention all my two-factor authentication is tied to the old phone number. So even as tedious as that was, it was less tedious than the other option.
Yeah.
It's just, when the reps said, like, no, there's no pin here, I'm like, no, I already put it there, and they're like, that's not possible. Shouting and yelling started.
I can imagine.
I'm like, yeah, and eventually the sales rep finally, or the IT person, got the message. Like, oh, okay, yeah. But suffice it to say, everything's been set up. I mean, not everything, but I haven't had time to like set up Skype on my new phone, that kind of thing. But it's like all of the essentials are in alignment.
Your phone can be used as a phone.
Yes. That is actually.
I refuse to put Skype on my phone on principle.
I mean, I've done a few other applications, including like I got Twitch here, which works a lot better than my old phone.
I'd hope so.
Yeah. But anyway, phone measures largely taken care of. And yeah, that's my news for this week. Hopefully next week will be less news filled, but considering what's coming along the line, oof. But
yeah.
That's another show.
Yeah,
thankfully.
for totally unrelated reasons, I'm taking Wednesday and Thursday off next week.
Yeah. So, merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast, and joining us for his umpteenth time, let's say, John Pickett at MangaGamer.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Indeed, it's always good to have you. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. We got a couple people that seem to be catching colds at my work, but otherwise, business as usual.
I'm like, it is that season.
Yeah, I was just looking at the weather here for where I live, and we're going down to 33 this weekend. So I think you guys are talking about how hot it is in Florida, and I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to have to turn the heat on in the evening in the next couple days.
Mind you, where I am, the temperatures can get down there, but that's like in dead of winter levels. It's still like maybe low 70s or upper 60s out there currently.
Oh yeah, I mean it was 68 here today, but it's gonna go down to 33 this Saturday evening.
Oof.
Fun.
You hope you have a warm coat.
Oh yeah, we got oil heat, so it'll be nice.
Okay. Anyway, so let's see. We got a bunch of stuff to run through this time around. I suppose we'll start with a game we previously covered, but it's got some new content coming, and that's Steam Prison. Specifically, the Fin Route is releasing in 2 weeks here?
It released 2 weeks ago.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay. It's been out for 2 weeks now on Steam and on MangaGamer. And we call it a DLC and an expansion because that's how we have to set it up on Steam. But it can be played standalone. So like if people wanted to just experience the Fin Route, you could do so buying it on MangaGamer. But at its core, what this edition does is it goes back to Steam Prison, and we follow basically the full character story for the character Finn, who in the original game did not have his own route. He was a side character, and when the main character Cirrus is cast down to the underworld, he ends up being staying in with the police and trying to help her through his position at the police. And the main difference with this time around with Finn's route is he decides to take the fall and be the one to take the punishment that is meant for the main character Cirrus. So he confesses to the crimes that happened very early on in the game. and he is the one who gets sent to the underworld, and so their roles are very much reversed from the normal progression of the game in this route.
I can see why this is standalone, though I do have a question in that regard is how familiar do you need to be with the original Steam Prison to play this? Like, do you need to have prior knowledge, or if somebody who would, for whatever reason, want to pick this up standalone, will they be fine?
So you can definitely enjoy the Finn route itself without prior knowledge of Steam Prison. The full story is still there, or at least enough of it is there, that you can enjoy his route without any prior knowledge. This particular release does also include 13 short stories for each of the mini stories for each of the 13 characters from the original Steam Prison. So if you played playing the first one is useful to enjoying those short stories, but those are again more of an extra bonus that comes with it. So.
Mm-hmm. And what do the 13 stories focus on in general?
The stories are for the different characters from the original.
Mm-hmm. Is that various points in their lives? Is this epilogue stuff?
It's a little bit, yeah. They're just little mini short stories that help expand the world and add depth to the characters that you enjoyed before.
Okay. And how long would the Finn route run in comparison to like one of the original routes?
It's comparable in length to the original routes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And does the Finn route branch off into multiple pathways, or is it just like one linear story?
I want to say there's a few choices that offer some different dialogue options and reactions, but for the most part, it's a single route.
Okay, yeah, that's about what I expected. And is this the first of many routes that will be added to Steam Prison, or is this just the what will the DLC be?
This is the full DLC. This was something that the original creators had decided to add when they were working on creating a Switch version of the game, and we were fortunate enough. We have good relations with them. We were able to secure this for a PC release, so current fans can enjoy this new content that they added for their Switch version as well.
I'm assuming that you're not handling the Switch version.
We are not, but the original developers, Hunex, will be using our translation for their Switch release.
I suppose another question in that regard is, given how popular visual novels have been on consoles, I mean, obviously there would be limits, but have you looked into console porting or development or anything like that in recent times?
It is something we have started to consider and debate amongst our management team. Obviously, our company in particular has the slight hurdle of the fact that most of our games tend to be adult.
Nintendo would bust a blood vessel.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of titles in our catalog that wouldn't even be options for a console release. But we do have titles like Higurashi, Steam Prison, and so on that could be viable options. Like in theory, we could try to get the Expression Amrilato onto Switch, assuming Nintendo's okay with a couple bathing scenes. Steam wasn't, so but so that's one hurdle. But it's something we're considering. We haven't made any plans.
I think that's a fair enough answer given your catalog. For example, all of the other games that we are covering tonight are of the sexy time variety.
Yes.
And that's as good a segue as any to the next, products, actually, because I believe this is being released in a 2-pack, Rants 1 and Rants 2.
Yes. Both of the games are being released together as one bundle. 35 to get both of them. And yeah, obviously, by nature, this one is kind of a MangaGamer exclusive.
Yes, I think we have talked about the Rant series before, but it was like more, some of the later games.
I want to say, I think we talked about our first release, which was Rants 5D and 6, and then
Yeah, that'd be the one.
our release of our last release before this one, which was Sengoku Rants, where Rants goes to Japan and works with Oda Nobunaga to unify it.
But but this time around, we're going back to the beginning, like literally, because for those who might not be familiar with the Rant series, this has actually been around for a long time.
The original Rants 1, I want to say, was published in I have it written down here. It was 1989 was when the original Rants was first released, and Rants 01, which is the first game in this bundle, is a modern remake of that original Rants.
I would imagine it would have to be because, well, let's just say computers at the time of 1989, couldn't display all that many colors, for example. Or
but at the same time, it's kind of amazing to think that this, adult game series has been around for over 30 years now.
Not even the oldest. Like, for example, Koei of Koei Tecmo, they actually cut their teeth on adult material.
Konami started with some of it too.
Right. So, absolutely not a new phenomenon by 1989, but it's still, let's just say porn from that period may not have aged the best.
There's a number of pixels.
Yes. Yeah. That being said, the Rant series isn't just, say, visual novel stuff.
No, it's the Alisoft and the Rant series is well known for their gameplay aspects. That's what's drawn a lot of people to the series and why it's been able to that's part of why it's lasted for 3 decades.
Right. Though I suppose a question in this direction is, okay, if someone enjoyed Rants, say 5 or 6, some of the later iterations of this series, would it be worth going back and visiting the first 2 games?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's still story elements that get added because it's worth keeping in mind that we are working on and releasing, Rants 10, which is sort of the culmination of the series, where it draws upon characters from every Rants from the very beginning. So it's like especially if you're looking forward to enjoying, the final Rants 10, it's definitely worth going back to enjoy the storylines, enjoy the plot points, see, how the characters first got to know Rants and become involved with Rants. Those sort of backstories that just help build upon the series as a whole. Like, those are worth it. But, I mean, it's still also fun and enjoyable on its own as well. Don't get me wrong.
That it's not so much for story considerations, but I'm talking more about the actual, the other stuff, the gameplay.
The gameplay.
It's like, because how these things usually works is like the later on you go, the more features or different features get added on. Like, how much of a concern is it that someone who, say, cut their teeth on Rants 5 would go to Rants 1 and maybe not find it as enjoyable? Is more what I'm getting at.
Well, so, I would point out, if people have played Rants 5, they'll be very aware that, Rance 5 gameplay mechanics is very different from, say, Rance 6, which was bundled with it. Rance 6 is more of your like traditional 3D dungeon crawling RPG. Rance 5 has, like a roulette wheel that you spin to try and progress among other elements. And both of those, the gameplay is, nothing like Sengoku Rance, which is basically a grand strategy game where you're controlling armies and, plotting your, strategic moves. So
It's not officially a Nobunaga's Ambition crossover, but basically.
yeah.
So it's helpful that Nobunaga is a public domain character.
Uh-huh.
But that's what I mean. Like the game, that's one of the things about the Rand series is the gameplay has always been different between each rendition. Anyways, it hasn't been like Final Fantasy where the mechanics are always mostly the same.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think there's still the gameplay is going to be very different between Rance 1, Rance 6, and Sengoku Rance. But again, like I said, that's not different for Rance 6 and Sengoku Rance anyways.
Okay.
So it's going to be enjoyable in its own unique way.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. I have experienced this kind of thing myself where, played a game in the later iteration and went back and just couldn't really get into it because the mechanics came off as archaic or whatever, or too simple. Like,
and the battle system, again, these are remakes of the original, so they have also tweaked the battle systems as well to update them for, to be more amiable to, modern audiences.
Right. And if I'm recalling correctly, the Rance 1 and 2 pack drops today?
Yes, it does. It drops tonight at midnight.
Okay, so look for that in a couple of hours on the MangaGamer site.
It's 10 o'clock now, so 2 hours from now.
Yep. And I'm assuming that's East Coast time?
Yeah, midnight Eastern, so like I said, exactly 2 hours from now.
Right. And let's see, up next would be Wanyan a la mode.
Yeah, we released that one. That was released September 3rd. I think I briefly mentioned it at our last podcast.
I think that might have come up last time. But yeah. And for those who might have missed that last one, what is Wanyan?
So Wanyan a la mode is a lighthearted, erotic, comedy dating sim. You play a character that's at a patissier's academy, and you are, competing for the right to intern with, famous patissier. And so the, academy splits the, students off into two groups. There's, one that works at the kitty parlor where all the girls wear cat ears, and one is, the Beans Puppy Cafe where all the girls wear dog ears. And you choose which shop, you choose which team basically to join. And from there, it's a lot of baked goods, whipped cream, and getting white stuff everywhere.
God damn.
I'm very sure that is whipped cream and nothing more. So how do I put this, dating choices, let's say, are contained within Wanyan?
There are 6 different girls, 3 for each team.
And how much does it matter if you choose Team Dog or Team Cat?
I mean, that's kind of it does matter because that sort of limits you to which of the 3 you'll get that playthrough.
Okay, but it's more a clarification that this isn't like a story of dogs versus cats, basically.
No. It's just, do you like cat girls more or dog girls more?
Fair enough. Though I could honestly say that's a question that could create a astonishing amount of tension.
Literal riots.
Yeah, I'm like, do not like. People are pretty serious with their preferences. Let's say, you know,
Mhm.
it's like thankfully you've got the choice, so you don't have to go to war about cat girls versus dog girls. So
Yeah, you just pick your side and enjoy
mm,
the women you like.
right, and I guess the next question is how explicit does this one get?
Um, a lot of the sex is vanilla, so
Uh-huh.
it's not like you're not gonna find hardcore BDSM or anything like that in there. But it definitely is explicit.
Okay, like because there's always kind of a range with your titles, like a lot of times, sometimes it's vanilla, sometimes it's room number 9. You know?
Yeah, this is no room number 9. It's very cute, very vanilla, and plenty of it.
Indeed. And shifting forward, since we are starting to get pressed for time, I think our last major featurette here is Eternal Torment, which
Now
we
this is one that's not vanilla.
yeah, like just the looking at the box art and the screenshots. Fair warning, this one is going to be very BDSM heavy.
It is, yeah, it's very Eternal Torment is very hardcore. It does actually have a good story though. Some of the writers have been involved in things like Euphoria and other sort of dark and dark eroge like that. The main heroine in this game basically she starts off in this sort of post-apocalyptic world where she's enslaved and captured and granted immortality so that she can serve the whims of the king, and then she manages to escape, and it follows her from there through different periods in history, whether it's like the colonial America or Japan in like the warring states and whatnot. And so it's very much a tale of like the cruelty of people, and because she's constantly being hounded by the pursuers that the king has sent after her, so she's never really able to stay in one place for too long.
And well, is there a particular point to her time traveling? Like, is she trying to stop the apocalypse from happening?
It does come into play, but I don't want to go into too much detail because that starts getting into some of the greater spoilers with the actual plot of the story.
Fair enough. And is this a purely story-driven visual novel? Do you make choices? Are there various routes? That kind of thing.
There are choices. I believe there are several different endings possible. But there is kind of like overall one storyline that it would be considered like the correct story, if that makes sense.
It does.
There's a couple offshoots, but generally speaking, there's one canon storyline to it.
Okay, and this got released. Did this get released already, or
yes.
Is it upcoming?
That one was released the 1st of this month.
Right, and I don't think we did a price check on any of the visual novels yet. So, how much?
Eternal Torment is $45. Rance 01 and 2 is $35. The Steam Prison Finroot is $10. And One Yan a la Mode is $40.
Okay, that's a pretty nice range.
Mm-hmm.
And this was shifting forward to the last bit. Any new visual novel announcements?
Actually, on that note, we are having our fall announcements tonight. They will be going up at midnight. So in 2 hours from now, we will be posting our announcement video on our YouTube channel, MangaGamer staff, and we will be having the new announcements detailed out there.
Okay.
Oh man.
And I suppose my final question for this session may not necessarily relate to visual novels, but I'm wondering, have you had the chance to watch the new Higurashi program yet?
I have not personally had a chance to watch the new one. We did have earlier in the month, we did do a promotion with a sale on the question arcs for Higurashi. And we're planning to do one for the answer arcs around when the second season's supposed to air.
It's probably some good business there. Even though that, apparently, Higurashi News actually called Higurashi Go. And
yeah.
I don't know, it's a weird sequel thing. I guess this has to play out because, well, let's just say the second episode kind of revealed some very big details about if you're not familiar with Higurashi, you should absolutely watch the original series or play the visual novels before you go into this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'll see if my colleagues here have any other questions for you at this point in time.
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
I think most of my questions have been covered, yeah.
Okay. Well, John, as always, it was lovely having you on the program. And let's see, we could have you back, say, February 8th.
That sounds good.
All right, then. So, as always...
well, actually, wait. That's a Monday?
It might be. Let me just check the calendar. Because I might have had the wrong... Yeah, February 3rd, sorry.
Okay.
I was looking at the wrong month. And sometimes
No problem.
that happens. So, but yeah, anyway. So, be sure to tune in to the MangaGamer official social media channels and YouTube channel for their upcoming announcements.
Yeah,
and
we'll be posting them on our Twitter and Facebook as well, in addition to the YouTube. So
yeah, and if you wish to pick up any of the visual novels or the Steam Prison DLC, you can pick that up on Steam. Everything else is MangaGamer exclusive. So just a note about that. Anyway, Petty, take us to the next segment. All right, so welcome to the topic of discussion for this week. Right, so if you haven't heard this bit of news by then, I'm going to be very impressed with your rock.
Yeah, make room for me, please.
Yeah, because we are talking about a bit of commentary that the head of Typhoon Studios, now Google SND Toronto, if I'm remembering that correctly, Alex Hutchinson, who said some stupid shit on Twitter. Now, granted, that's not amazing in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's the specific thing that he said that got pretty much everyone riled up and proceeded to dunk upon in...
The dunks haven't stopped yet.
Yeah. But, I suppose in the interest of, in case you don't know what Mr. Hutchison said, he basically, he was responding about a recent flurry of DCMA takedowns that were issued by, if I'm remembering correctly, the scum fucks at the RIAA. because the music industry is, if nothing, absolutely fucking terrible. They are shit heels that make other shit heels look good. Believe me, I could rant a while about them, but we don't have a music show currently. But anyway, so what Mr. Hutchinson said, in declaration of the RIAA taking down Twitch material, he, basically said that, I'm paraphrasing here, that streamers should be not only very thankful that game companies don't do this, that they should be paying game companies for the privilege of streaming the game. I'm like, and okay, like there's been a lot of ink spilled and a lot of videos recorded about this particular bit of stupidity already, but I think we can, or at least I can, add some of our own insight into this because, first of all, like we are the small streamer that, everyone likes to talk about. We are among them. Like, I'm aware of our position in the universe, certainly. And, it's like a big deal of the mainstream argument has been, think of the small streamers. They wouldn't be able to afford this. I'm like, but that kind of misses the forest for the trees, quite frankly. That is...
the reason that this is not a good idea is not just because it's bad for small streamers and for people who aren't big streamers yet, for that matter. It's also just the idea of consuming a game via a stream or let's play is like not the same as consuming a game yourself, which is why like it's different as advertisement than from like using music in a thing that you could theoretically just clip out and listen to over and over again.
Yeah, that is one of the fundamental differences between video games and other forms of major media. It is an interactive experience versus a passive experience. Now, it's if somebody is watching, say, Control, or Kingdoms of Amalur, or just list 100 or 1,000 games here, basically. You're probably not going to get the same experience as you will playing it. And that's just single player stuff as well. Multiplayer streaming is, even more popular. For fuck's sakes, esports exists around several games.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm sure there are broadcast rights involved, the line of logic that Mr. Hutchinson is applying here is basically saying, let's have the Atlanta Falcons or the, Denver Broncos or, insert sports team here, let's have them pay for the rights to broadcast the thing. That's, I suppose, first of all, the danger of trying to get into a maybe nuanced argument on Twitter, which doesn't really allow for that in an individual tweet. Granted,
see 280 characters.
Yeah, granted, I don't think he was going for that. It was more, the peasants should enjoy their bit of pie and maybe send a bit of it back to us. And it's especially hilarious coming from somebody who works in the Stadia division of Google.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, now I don't think this is quite a thing yet with Stadia. I'll be honest, I really don't keep up with Stadia, which means I am a normal person.
Well done.
Granted, I follow a lot of industry stuff because I have to, but I'm safe in not following Stadia because Stadia exists. Like, point is, one of the first features advertised that I remember was this whole you can stream this onto YouTube and your friends can instantly jump in or whatever. Streaming is a big part of Google's plans for Stadia.
Well, it's a big
And that
part of
kind of
modern gaming now.
Yeah, and that kind of, the fucking PlayStation 4, which is now 7 years old, 8 years old,
Mhm.
it had a dedicated button to streaming. The
Mhm.
share button.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could go on, I really could, but the overall point is the industry, and people like to, and there were, uh, let's call them fuckwits because that's what they were. Who were like, corporate. The typical corporations aren't your friend. They, be wary. It's the whole, they could change this at any time. And okay, so from a legal perspective, yes, and there are perhaps some legal things that they perhaps should do, specifically with their EULAs. But
Hmm.
EULAs aren't really worth the paper they're printed on, in my estimation.
You mean the printer that they're not the paper that they're not printed on?
That's the joke.
Yeah.
Okay. My my point is, yes, it would be technically illegal to stream Among Us or Fall Guys or Phantasmophobia or whatever if the rights holders wanted to clamp down on that. But I'm like, considering that the entire industry has, you know, made streaming part of their business. Okay.
Yeah, it's transformative in at least two ways.
I'm like,
Like
and
the game a lot of the time isn't even actually the product anymore for a streamer. It's the streamer's personalities that then can be like advertisement for the game.
mm-hmm, like advertising or marketing because this whole idea of paying for a game to stream is so very hilarious to me because right, so a peek behind the curtain, some of the stuff that I work on during the week for this show is looking through code requests. I'm like, not just like email code requests at this point, but there are dedicated sites. We had one of them on the air once. Um, there are dedicated sites for the facilitation of review codes, be they Steam, console, or otherwise.
Yeah, the industry has clearly decided that giving away a few codes to the game, because note they're not even actually like losing money on this because not really because I mean I guess technically they're losing a little bit of money, but it's not like they're having unless you're big time, they're not like having physical versions pressed and sent out to everybody by mail with collector's edition crap.
Well, and
Right. So
also,
It's a digital code.
if they get people to buy their game, that's a profit. If they don't, that's just the cost of doing business.
yes.
Right.
It's
Mhm.
like now it's easier to get say Steam codes because as far as I know, Steam doesn't charge for those versus console codes, which are. Granted, it's a lot harder these days to get multiple Steam codes, but that's mainly from people who dupe the code vendors for this shit.
Yeah,
J-
y'all are assholes, by the way.
yeah, you make our job harder to do. I mean, that's kind of why I had to shift things from getting 4 of a code to getting the 1 code. But granted, that did allow for more reviews, more focused reviews, which probably would have happened anyway. But my point is, like at our level, just the code requests in my inbox or the code offers in my inbox. If I were to ask for all of them, I would never get this done. Like, and we get just another perspective here. We get enough code offers in various formats where, currently our review stuff is booked till December, and that's 4 games per week. Like, and that's just at our level. It's even more. The higher you go, not only the more you will get, it's the level of access will be easier. And also companies pay streamers to stream games. The literal opposite outcome of what was asked for in these comments. That's what occurred. Say like Ninja, people fucking pay him a lot of money to cover a game. Okay, and just going through the Shroud or PewDiePie or what have you. They will usually get paid because they have audiences of millions. Their streams will typically draw in hundreds of thousands of eyeballs, and that's all part of the marketing budget at this point. Even we get some paid offers. It's just stuff on that level is something I'm not really comfortable covering. Because that first of all deepens the obligation, but it's, and there are some other reasons why, but that's neither here nor there. My point is, the commentary was dumb from not a legal perspective, not from a on paper perspective. Not from a, say, lawyer's perspective, but from, an actual streamer's perspective. It's fucking hilarious because the idea of somebody, wanting money for their game, what's going to happen. Nobody is going to bother with that game.
If you as a game designer start saying, well, if you want to stream this game for money, you have to pay a licensing fee. What's going to happen is that the streamers are going to play the other games that they don't have to do that for.
This is trying to close the barn door after it not only it's been opened, but the barn has been torn apart by a tornado. Now, and will it always stay this way? That's a bit harder to say in terms of the future. It's like maybe AAA will clamp down, but once again, there are literally too many games. Some of the biggest games that are going right now owe their fucking popularity to stream and streaming. 3 games I checked earlier: Fall Guys, Among Us, Phantasmaphobia. They all got absolutely fucking huge or are becoming huge. Phantasmaphobia is rising, by the way. This is all off the back of streaming. So streaming is perhaps the new YouTube showcase. If you remember, let's say about 7 years ago, it used to be, your indie game could be made off the back of, say, Total Biscuit covering your game. Like, I remember as like the One Finger Death Punch guys talking about that. That's shifted over to streaming. Could it shift elsewhere? Absolutely. But, we cannot talk about the future too much because the future could go in a completely different direction. But, as it is for the here and the now and the near, you don't, companies that would be expecting, fucking royalties from streaming, no. Even ad revenue, that, first of all, that may be something that would have to be worked out with, say, the platform holder. Maybe not a individual streamer versus, YouTube or Twitch. There are all sorts of complications that could arise from actually pursuing this legally. Another problem is there's actually no precedent for getting royalties from a game broadcast. Like, the idea exists in theory, but nobody's actually walked the march, basically, to make streaming a game an actual precedent in a court of law. Why does that matter? Because if you have
it's precedent in a court of law.
Yeah. Yeah, because then it's actual law. Right now, it's all, gray area and so on and so forth. Maybe this is what it says it is. Like, nobody's fought this particular battle. And maybe it's a battle that will be fought. Maybe Epic Games will have something to do with it. But that's doubtful as long as Fortnite is still the most popular game in the fucking universe. Once again, Fortnite did not really explode just on its own accord. Fortnite, PUBG, Minecraft, the list just goes on and on and on and on about games who got fucking popular or got more popular because of streaming. Like, if the interests of capital decided this was a good thing for business, then they decided it was a good thing for business. That's how that works. Like, and another example, if you remember, Nintendo had a program where you could, sign up with them, split the ad revenue and all that. They gave that up. When Nintendo relents on something, that means something is dead. Okay?
Indeed.
So there. I think we've thoroughly covered how fucking stupid this comment was.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's something that personally offended me because, we do this. We do streaming not for a living, but, we do it as a major part of our week, let's say. And this commentary was just fucking literally ignorant. It did not understand the actuality of the reality of the situation. All right, then. So that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments Silicon. The week ahead. So coming up in about a half an hour, we should be having another installment of Last News Desk on the Left. That'll be over on the YouTube. We're not sure if we're going to be doing anything for Election Day yet. I think we're half scared to. But we'll probably have more on that over there. Anyway, coming up on Friday, October 30th, we will be welcoming Bruno Carvello of Cubite Entertainment. We've got a lot of games to get through on this one. They announced like 14 games, and that was just like just this one event. They've announced other games, so yeah, this one is probably going to go the full hour. Just mentioning that ahead of time. Let's see. And on the Sunday reviews, we will be having reviews of Nyanko Space, Nyanko Card, Ultra Hat Dimension, and Twin Breaker: A Sacred Symbols Adventure. So be sure to look for those on their respective days until about a half an hour from now, if I'm being honest. I wish you good gaming.